So, my conversation time with you today is a conversation about what you might be able to do to become the very best you. You're here because, in theory, you want to be a leader. The very first person you lead is yourself. Understanding that is kind of critical. So let's zip through some stuff, think about a few things, and see where that takes us. Now, to begin, attitude is everything in my life, and I hope it can be in yours. I have had the opportunity to dive deeply into this little book here called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. I love that you are sharing books, by the way. It's very, very important. If you want to be a leader, you've got to be a learner. If you are not a learner, you're in trouble. And I'm going to let you in on a little something. Getting it all the way through to getting a doctorate, that's like 16 years of university. It's a stupid amount of time in school. But I've read more books since I finished my doctorate than I did before I finished my doctorate. And this is not a bad habit to have. I live by this idea. It's a kind of a little limerick. The more I know I need to know more. Okay? So the more I know I need to know more. Well, BJ taught this habit, and I did a strengths assessment sometime back, and my number one strength is positivity, and I like that. That makes sense to me. But BJ introduced me to something called the Maui habit. And I have now practiced the Maui habit every single day for more than 2 years. I have not missed a single day. Do you have any habit that you do? Well, you probably should. But this one starts my day, every single day. And we're going to do it right now. So here's the deal with the Maui habit. Of course, if you've ever been to Maui, my heart literally broke when the fires raged through Lahaina. Because I have coached football on Hawaii several times, and the fire happened at the same week that we would historically have been there when I was coaching with Team Alberta. And we would play exhibition games, little exhibition games, controlled scrimmages, with 2 or 3 high schools in Lahaina, and it's like their first week back at school. And can you imagine, I hope, you can imagine so much fun to start a new school year, so much fun to start a new volleyball year, a new football year, and then have your town destroyed by a fire, with the fire whipping at up to 100 kilometers an hour. That fire was moving at times. It broke my heart. But I still live by this, and the people of Maui still live by this, that every day is a great day. So this is the way this habit works. The idea is to start your day off with a right mindset. So I want you to pretend. Is there anybody here who gets out of bed hands first? No, I didn't think so. So far, I've never heard anybody say, yeah, that's how I get out of bed. So we all get out of bed the same way, with our feet, right? Yeah, you're right. You're on it. I mean, you roll, but your feet still hit the ground first. So I'm going to pretend that this is my bed. And I want you to back your chairs up a little bit and be ready to do this with me. Oh, participation. That's very good. Okay? So the way it works is that as you stand up, you say out loud, today is going to be a great day. That's it. Except with every tiny habit, and we'll talk more about it in a little bit, with every tiny habit, the important thing is to then celebrate. If you want habits to succeed, to stick, you've got to celebrate as quickly as you can to what you do. Okay? So how do you celebrate? That's 100% up to you. You're smiling like you know this. Because you've heard this from me before? Yes, okay. And you've shared this? Because he looked at you. Okay, that's good. So The celebration is 100% up to you. So I want you to think right now how you're going to celebrate. It can be something like a little, duh. Okay, I know, that weirded you out. That was a 90-year-old guy going, duh. Okay, so what? Get over it. All right? It can be just kind of a little clap of the hand. It can be whatever you want, but celebrate. Okay, so think, what's my celebration? It might just be, yeah. That's okay too. When I'm doing this, my wife is still asleep, so she does not want me to go, today is going to be a great day. Yeah. Because I'm up like 2.5 hours before her, and I would no longer have a wife. We got that figured? Okay. So here we are. We're in our beds. Imagine. We're all going to say, today is going to be a great day, and then we're going to celebrate. Feet up, because they're not on the floor yet. I know there's some giggles here, but that's all right. Hang in there. Oh, my abs. All right. And go. Today is going to be a great day. Yeah. Wait, where's those celebrations? Come on, you guys. They gotta roll. All right. You got it? You with me? Okay. Thank you very much. It's my little remote clicker over here. So, hey, my invitation to you, think about it. I've shared this with a lot of people, and I have definitely had a couple of adults say to me, oh, that's kind of silly. You know, that doesn't really make a difference. And I always say to them, now hang on. I just told you I've done this habit every day. I did it this morning. I promise I'm not lying to you. I'll never lie to you. I've done this every day. So imagine if I had just gone 700 days in a row where I got up out of bed and I said, today is going to suck. How do you think that would affect my attitude, my ability to succeed, right? So just ponder that a little bit. It's a lot better when you set the tone and get going from there. Now, I'm not going to talk very much about my own life, but I have been incredibly blessed. I've coached over 65 football teams in my life, from Pee Wee to high school to provincial, national champions, provincial champions, all the way around. I have received every award you can receive for coaching in Alberta, every single one of them. Blessed to win some awards I would not have desired to win based on some of why I won them. Okay? Different riddle. Oh, I want to hit on what you said. My young granddaughter said to my wife the other day, to her grandma, did you know that you can Google grandpa and a whole bunch of stuff comes up? And my wife said, yeah, you can also Google you and see what's there. And it's absolutely true. And it reminded me, it's humbling. You kind of go, hey, man, I sure hope all the stuff that comes up when you Google Rick Gilson is good. And yeah, there's lots of stuff there. I, as a person who hired teachers in the past, have Googled a person who's applied for the job and said, no. Just off of that, I'm not even going to interview this person. So beware on that. But I want to go way, way, way back in time. Where's the Churchill crew? It's right here. No, that's Kate Andrews over here. Okay, so, no, yeah. Just the one. Just the one. There's some more Churchill over here. So there's some more Churchill over there. I went to Sir Winston Churchill in Calgary as a grade 10 and 11. By the way, this is so long ago that my house was just down from Sir Winston Churchill. There were 10 more houses, and then Calgary ended. It was a gravel road. The thing they call Crowchild Trail was a field in front of my house that I snared gophers. I'm ancient. Okay, so here's the deal. At the end of grade 11, having won a city championship in Calgary in volleyball, at the end of grade 11, my dad said, we're going to move to Edmonton. It is not cool to move to Edmonton for your senior year as a student athlete. So I decided, well, what the heck, I'll just switch sports and I'll go try out for football. And so I went to this small high school in Edmonton called Harry Ainley. Well, it's not small. No, I know. This is when my grandson says to me, Grandpa, are you being sarcastic? Yes, I am. Okay, so I go to Harry Ainley, and at the time, in 1975, Harry Ainley had never won a city championship in football, but they had a pretty good team, and I show up to try out. Now, I'm talking about 1975, and you're like, why's all these old guys here? Well, here's the situation. My high school football coach had to make a decision because I was trying out to be a defensive back in football. And I had not played tackle football. I'd played flag football in Calgary, but I hadn't played tackle football. I'm going to go be a defensive back. It doesn't matter if you know or don't know what that is. It's a fun position. The guys that I was trying to beat out were I think I got a laser pointer here. Yeah. This guy up here, Don Getty, he's the former premier of Alberta. His son was trying out to be a defensive back on the same team I was trying out to be a defensive back. This guy here is a guy named Bob Dean. He was the center for the Eskimos when they won those 3 Grey Cups in a row. Don Getty was the quarterback for the Eskimos when they won those 3 Grey Cups in a row. And then the other guy trying out for defensive back was a guy called Jackie Parker Jr., and his dad, Jackie Parker, in the history of the CFL in Canada, is listed as the #1 player in the history of the league. And his son was trying out. So the coach had to decide between Jackie Parker Jr., Matt Dean, son of Bob Dean, Dave Getty, son of Don Getty, the premier, or Rick Gilson, son of Bob, a realtor who just moved to town. So who's never played tackle football before? But I made the team. I was no star in any way, shape, or form. But my head coach, I like to say he liked me because he kept me so close to him on the sideline most of the game. Okay, you can figure it out. But I'm going to fast forward here. This is just a couple of years ago when my high school head coach contacted me to say, hey, things aren't looking too good for me health-wise. They're naming up athletic grounds after me, and I'm being inducted into the Edmonton City Hall of Fame. If you could make it, I'd love to have you there. Now, I got to control my emotions here on this. I have never told this like this before. So here's the deal. I told him in the summer of 1981 or so that I was going into university to be a teacher. We won back-to-back city championships. It was a really good team in high school. And I was going to go to university and be a teacher. And he said to me, you should be a coach. And I said, why? I hardly played. And he said, well, you backed up all of these guys. You played a quarter. And in the end, this is what happened, is I would play 1 quarter for Matt, 1 quarter for Jackie, and one quarter for Dave, and 1 quarter just wherever or sit on the bench, right? And you did all the scout offense, and you did this and this and this. You will be a great coach. You should coach. And so I started coaching. Couple of decades, he would show up. I coached in Grand Prairie for 29 years. He would show up at my games in Edmonton in the stands. It was incredible. I ran into him one time in the mall. Hey, Coach Anderson, how you doing? And he's like, I think it's time you call me Brian. And I'm like, okay, Mr. Anderson. Like, and you can probably relate, right? You know, that's kind of the situation. So guys, you don't have to be invited, but you do need to start thinking of what you can do and how you can carry beyond what you currently are. All right? Now, here's the word ability. I want you to think, what words can go in front of that? What are the kinds of ability? Just think. If you can think of one, shout it out. Incredibly important one. Coachability. Okay? What's another? Possibility. That's a good one to keep. It's not one of the ones that I've got up on the slide deck, though. And that's okay. I can't write them in there that fast. Because there are dozens upon dozens upon dozens. Educability. Educability is your ability to be taught, your ability to learn. It's so critical. You know, as a coach, I would probably be defined as a player's coach in that I focused on getting my players to be the best they could be as people. Players was sort of second. But when a student said to me, when an athlete said to me, I know, like when you're telling them they need to do this, like, hey, you need to do it, I know. Whoa, wait a minute. I wouldn't have to tell you if you know, or why didn't you do it if you know, right? So it's about being that. How about this one? Dependability. What does that mean? What does it mean to be dependable? Able to depend. What? Speak into the mic.
Okay, so like to be dependent on somebody?
To be dependent on by somebody, for somebody to depend on you. You did a good job. Thanks. Okay, what about this one? Why is this so important? Why is it so important to be available? Does anybody here know Aaron Rodgers? Does anybody know this name? He's an NFL quarterback. He's all kinds of super abilities. His availability this year is 0. He lasted 76 seconds in the NFL season, total. Availability is important, but there are so many more. Responsibility, so many more. Okay, quick. This is one of the most legendary football coaches of all time. This isn't just a football presentation. This is what he said to his team the very first time he met them. I want you to think about it as if he is speaking to you as you read it. Now, when he first met his team, they had won 2 games the year before. They were useless, terrible, terrible football team. And the very first time he spoke to the team, this is what he said, but I want you to think about it for you. Gentlemen, we are going to relentlessly chase perfection, knowing full well we won't catch it because nothing is perfect. But we're going to relentlessly chase it because in the process we will catch excellence. I'm not remotely interested in being good. I used to joke that we have no Russian hockey players on our football team. There's nobody named good enough. Like, good enough just isn't what we're shooting for, right? In the Bible, we read about perfection. It's the goal. Be perfect. But we're not going to get there. But along the way, we can get excellence. By the way, every single game you play in, I want you to start thinking a little bit about the referees. The referee will be perfect and call the perfect game the same day you play one. That's not going to happen, ever. Choose your responsibility. So, as I mentioned before, to me, it'd be great if I had players that went to the CFL, and I did. I even had an opportunity to coach briefly on a provincial all-star team, a young man that ended up playing for the Indianapolis Colts and a couple of other NFL teams, won a Super Bowl. Kid from Medicine Hat, Dan Federkyle. So that's fantastic. But I'm going to tell you right now, if any of my players have grown up to be terrible husbands, terrible fathers, and because I started women's tackle football, I can also say terrible mothers, terrible wives, terrible employers, terrible employees, I failed as a coach. Because the bigger goal is to be the best people you can be. All right? So, habits. Habits you can generate to make the best you. You're all athletic, correct? I'm working on that assumption. You have some idea about game film. You know the film doesn't lie. In the NFL, they call Mondays Tell the Truth Monday, because that's when they watch the game film from Sunday. I have taken to this idea that everything in my life is recorded. Like this is being recorded right now. That's not, okay? But everything in my life is recorded. And at the end of the day, that game film of my life exists. What does it say? What have I done today to make life better for you, for my wife, for my children, for my grandchildren, for anybody that I'm working with? It's in the game film. So if you are reacting negatively, if you are speaking behind a teammate's back, that definitely wouldn't be something you would appreciate on the pronghorns, right? So if you are doing that, it's being recorded. You know you did it. Look at the film and go. I'm sorry, I'm really messing with you, aren't I? You're doing great, okay? So when the lights are off and it's just you in the room, at the end of the night, at the end of the day, as you're finishing your day and you're thinking about things you're grateful for, you're getting ready to have a good sleep so you can get up in the morning and say, today's going to be a great day, okay? What does the film say? And we work from there, okay? It's step by step. Guys, you're not gonna be perfect. Just get up. When something messes up, I love your three-part motto, fail fast, learn fast, fix fast. This is from a book called The Hard Hat. And it is a great book for coaches to get for their athletes, for you to get for yourself. And it is the true story of a lacrosse player, field lacrosse, who was hit by a shot in the chest with a lacrosse ball. And he went into that sudden cardiac arrest, and they didn't have the ability to bring him back, and he passed away. And he was playing for Cornell University in the United States. And after he passed, it became evident, it wasn't evident to everybody before, but that he was everyone on the team's best friend. That he was involved in everyone on the team's lives, but they all thought he was just involved with them in this level, at this level. So it's the hard hat, and inside the hard hat, there are 21 ways to be a great leader. So it's got the story of George, but then it also talks about those 21 ways. And George, the university has this on a saying, or pardon me, engraved on a wall, and it apparently inspired him to his actions based on the records they had from him. How am I doing for time? Am I messing it up? You give me a high sign, I'll go faster. But these are the 21 things. I just want you to look at these 21 things. You've got a pen, you've got a pencil, you've got a note. I want you to pick 3 you could work on. Just 3. Just look at those and think, what are the 3 I want to try to work on in the next little while? You know, I am really betting, have you seen this book before? I bet that the Pronghorns would love that book. You would love that book in your work. But this is the whole piece, right? Be a come-with-me teammate. That's bring them along. Get them there. Be a loyal friend. Love your team. Accountability. I see so many of these. Obviously, we've already talked about that one, right? Pursue excellence. But pick your 3. They're yours. I'm not going to ask anybody to share your 3. I just want you to think about what those 3 are and maybe start thinking about how you would do it. Now, is there anybody else here who doesn't have a pencil? My buddy, I need another pencil. And you can use a card or your notebooks, whatever you want. Get your 3 and then just start musing about how you're going to apply those 3. Now, we're going to have a couple of other lists here, so you might be able to pull something from somewhere else. Okay? It's interesting how the slides are going. There are 12 concrete benches across the landscape at West Point University, West Point Academy. This is where people interested in entering the Army in the United States go to school. So these 12 concrete benches have these virtues engraved in the concrete benches around the campus. Again, you take a look at these and you say, well, first off, we see some responsibility. There's another ability in there. But of all of those, what's one you need to work on? You feel like, hey, in order to be my best me, I got to up my game in this. You all are trying to be all of them. You can't get, at least you should be. There's not some, I look up there and I go, you know what, I don't want to be compassionate. No, I can't do that. I have to be. I need to be my best me. I can't imagine any of you saying, you know what, loyalty isn't really that important of a virtue to me. What? I'm coming up on my 50th wedding anniversary. April 15th, 1977, day of my first date with my wife. Huh. Loyalty is very, very important. Okay, let's go. Your character is everything. It is who you are. It's the fabric of your entire life. Now, John Wooden's been gone for a long time. Some of you may, if you're a basketball player, you may have heard of him. He's won 12 national championships at UCLA, but he did not win a championship for about 10 or 11 years. In today's world of instant, he probably would have been fired. The greatest coach in college basketball history probably would have been fired in today's, I need it now. You don't need it all now. You need to be working on it now. Little bit every day. This is quite interesting to me because all the pictures on my presentation are gone. There is a beautiful picture here of a bronze statue of a man sweeping the street. It's a statue of a street sweeper, big broom. And when we take a look at this, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have had the opportunity to take my football team to New York, Philadelphia, and Washington twice in my life. We took two different teams and toured New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and played a game. And in each instance, there's a step about halfway down from the Lincoln Memorial in Washington. You guys have probably all seen that in TV at some point in time. Abraham Lincoln sitting in a chair, big statue. Down the steps, there's a spot that reads the date, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. And every single one of my players has been invited to stand there for just a second and read that and think about what their dream is, what Martin Luther King's dream was, and what it means to be a good person and a good leader. Just ponder that. That's powerful. And just look out at what he was looking out at when he spoke to thousands of people and shared that story. Which, by the way, it was not in the original script. He was not going to share the I Have a Dream story. That was because a friend of his behind him said, tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream. And so he told him about the dream. He had previously shared that story. So how we carry ourselves is so critically important. Sorry, your first name? Keegan. So Keegan was telling you about some of the things that she set up to try to do, and one of them kind of caught my attention. Be the last one out of the locker room. Leave the locker room better than we found it. And my actual thought was, I don't know if I want to be the last one out alone. Every time I want to be the last one out, I want to have somebody else on the team, at least one, with me, preferably volunteering to be with me because they've seen the example. Right? Does that make some sense to you? So we're trying to pull up some of these, a picture in here to share, but I'm going to tell you a story. Okay? So this is a BC Football League, Okanagan Sun, and okay, we're getting some pictures in there. Click on that one, yeah. Good luck. Now, hit play, and if it doesn't work, okay, there we go. So, this is the All Blacks rugby team. Well done, well done. Round of applause. Woo. So, you can Google Japan World Cup and soccer, and you can see stories where professionals get it. But sometimes at junior high, high school, we don't get it. You go with a football team, like mine in Grand Prairie, we had to go to other communities and play the game. After the game, you use the girls' change room and showers and stuff, and then go get on the bus and go home. And ladies, would you appreciate it if a whole bunch of stinky high school boy football players went and had showers in your shower and then just left the tape, the grass, et cetera, all over? Not to mention at least one pair of underwear every road trip. Would you? No, right? Like, are you with me on this, girls? That'd be disgusting, right? So leaving it better than you found it is important. And the All Blacks, they don't need somebody else to look after their locker room or any locker room that they're in. They don't need a manager or, hey, here's a word for you, caretaker, to come in and take care of the locker room for them, because they take care of it. Right? Does that make some sense? And so 2006, you've got Nanaimo and Okanagan Sun are the two best teams in Canada in junior football. And Nanaimo comes over to play the Okanagan Sun in the last regular season game, and they win. And so they're going to have home field advantage. And they got to get changed and showered real quick because they got to get on the bus because they got to catch the last ferry back across to the island, and so they got to go. And so it's hurry, hurry, hurry. And you talk about captains. Captains are grabbing bags and stuff. But that wasn't it. The head coach of the Okanagan Sun happened to be walking through the locker room of the Nanaimo Raiders when the two, not just captains, the literal star, the leading rusher in running back in all of Canada, the best linebacker in all of Canada, came into the locker room because there were a couple of first-year guys that were last ones in the shower. That one, okay, I can live with that. Who weren't ready yet. And they didn't yell at them or anything. They just started gathering up their equipment for them and packing their bags for them. Now, personal pride because they're former Grand Prairie Warriors, both of them. But it was what the coach told me after. He shared the story with me. He went back to his coaching staff and he said, we can't beat these guys because we don't have anybody on our team leading our team like I just saw these guys lead the team. It's real stuff. Okay? Tiny Habits, B.J. Fogg. It's a book every one of you should buy if you want to really make something with life. It's paperback, not very expensive. Okay? Did I show him the book? Yeah, I did. It looks like this. You might have to order it on Amazon. There's another book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I want to make this very clear, pun intended. James Clear quotes B.J. Fogg. B.J. Fogg does not have to quote James Clear. James Clear took some training from B.J. Fogg and then went and wrote a book called Atomic Habits. I guess that's different than Tiny Habits. But here's the deal. So, first step of everything is, what do you aspire to be? Now, I want you to just think for a second. What do you want to aspire to be as an athlete? What do you want to aspire to be as a person? Now, for example, I don't aspire to lose 15 pounds. I aspire to be fit. 15 pounds is getting lost, that's part of being fit. Thinking on that for a sec? I didn't aspire to be a coach, but once I started coaching, I aspired to be a very good coach. Okay? So you think about what it is you want to be. I can aspire to be a writer. Okay? So, you have some cards I gave you. On the back, on the blank side of the card, I want you to just put in the middle, and if you have paper, you can use the paper too, but I want you to put in the middle something you aspire to be. And you can see, you got to leave yourself some room. All right? So, if I aspire to be fit, if I aspire to be a great golfer, if I aspire to be a great strong side hitter, if I aspire to be a great point guard, just to put it in sports stuff, put that aspiration in the middle. And you're going to have to write small a little. When I do this, I do it on 8.5 by 11 paper. I apologize for not bringing you some paper. Now, around the outside, no editing, just every single thing you can think of that would help you be that. You don't have to worry about if you can do it right now or not, just things that would help you do that. Like if I wanted to be fit, I would bench press 100 pounds or 3 reps of whatever the case may be. Swarm it with behaviors. All the things you could do that would help you achieve that aspiration. What did you got? Take a sec.
I'm still thinking.
You're still thinking? It's okay. Drop something down in the middle that you aspire to improve at, and then swarm it with behaviors. I am a videographer's nightmare. Okay? Now, we're not going to finish this in this time. I'm inviting you to think about it as something to practice a little bit. Okay? So, you swarm it with all the behaviors. Some of them are what we call golden behaviors. Now, golden behaviors are behaviors we want to do and we have the ability to do. Okay? So I might have aspired to be stronger. And I might have written up there as a behavior push-ups. This is one of BJ Fogg's great examples. So I do push-ups. Okay. 30 push-ups. I'm going to do 30 push-ups a day, I say. That you hear about goals all the time, right? Yeah, but I can't do 30 push-ups, especially right now in my ancientness. I can't do 30 push-ups right in a row. Bam, 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 bam. So I want to, I just don't have the ability. So I have high motivation, but I don't have the ability to do 30, so I got to change, I got to make the goal tinier. Can I do 1 push-up? Sure. The ability is high. The motivation is high. That's a golden behavior. I could do 1 push-up. Are you following me on the logic of this? So, that's a golden behavior. Now I need something that will prompt it. So I have the motivation, I have the ability, and now I need the prompt. So if I back up on them and reverse engineer the Maui habit, I want to have a positive attitude on my day. Motivation. I want to have a positive attitude. Do I have the ability to say today is going to be a great day? Yes. So I have high motivation, high ability. What's my prompt? Getting out of bed. That's my prompt. So, to the push-up one. I have the ability to do one push-up. Cool. I'm motivated to get stronger. Cool. Prompt. Now this is BJ's, not mine. Every time I pee, I just said pee live in front of teenagers on camera. Well, we all do it. Every time I pee, I will, after, and this is the whole thing, prompt. After I pee, I will do one push-up. Now, what if I'd recently sustained injury? Now, I could do, there's lots of ways to do a push-up. Obviously I'm washing my hands first, come on. But, so it's literally after I wash my hands after I pee, I will do one push-up. Again, I'm old, maybe I can't quite do one push-up on the ground, but could I imagine if this is the door to the bathroom and I've washed my hands and I'm leaving, could I do one wall push-up? Sure. And then I'll celebrate. And then one was really easy, so I'll do 2 or I'll do 3. And if I do 3 wall push-ups, now maybe I could do 1 regular push-up. Motivation, ability, prompt. Can I be a good sport? I aspire to be a good sport. We'll take a look at a couple of things that can help us with that. But this is the recipe right here. So the other side of the card, and I want you just to write down what you're seeing here on the other side of the card, just to help you. After I, and after is so important. Just write out the template like this. After I, just copy this onto the other side of your card. After I, and then whatever it is, because that's your prompt. If you want to put a little, the word prompt on there, P-R-O-M-P-T, for any of us like me, spelling-wise. So after I will, and then I will celebrate. So it looks like this. You think about your routines every day. After practice, I will make a note of what I learned. One thing, make a note of one thing I learned in practice today. You think of your routines, you match your routines, the things you already do, become prompts to help you do something you want to do and have the ability to do to be a better you. That's what it's all about. You with me on that? Can I get a nod? I got some nodding? Okay, we're good. And they're not nodding asleep. And after I do it, I will immediately, what? What's the word? Starts with C?
Celebrate.
Celebrate good times. Okay, you're too young for that song. It's an old song. Okay? I will celebrate. There are 3 times that you could celebrate. Whenever you remember, when you are doing it, and immediately after. The emotional connection is what makes the habit stick. Okay? Now, all of this, okay, how does this help me want to be a coach? How does this help me want to perhaps referee? How does this, they all tie in because you start thinking bigger. I have coached kids who played high school football and referee in the CFL. That's awesome. But they didn't start there. Now, we talked about aspirations. Aspirations are hopes. Oh, guess what we're going to do here now? We're going to go right into English 30, and we're going to spend 20 seconds on Hamlet in English 30. Does anybody know the story of Hamlet? How would you like it if your uncle murdered your dad and then married your mom? That's the story of Hamlet. Okay? Your uncle murders your dad, marries your mom. And you find out. You know because your dad comes back as a ghost and tells you that's what happened. True story? That's it. You got it now. Any of your English teachers ever say, hey, we're going to do Hamlet? You say, nah, My uncle murdered my dad, married my mom. I get revenge, or try. So here's the deal with why I have this up here. There's a point in the middle of Hamlet, towards the end, actually, where Hamlet comes across his uncle, Claudius, praying. And Hamlet knows his uncle killed his dad, and he wants revenge. But he's having this argument with himself. If I kill him while he's praying, that, he could maybe get to heaven because I'm killing him while he's praying, but he murdered my dad. He's conflicted. And Claudius is saying, you know what? I shouldn't have murdered my brother, but I like being king. I probably shouldn't have married his wife, but I kind of like being married to her. I shouldn't have. So Hamlet thinks he's repenting, but he isn't. And Claudius closes with some very important words. This old man's going to quote, "My words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go." Now, it's important to wish, to aspire. A little bit Claudius was wishing he could be better, but he didn't really want to. And that's just that's the thing here. It's not enough to just have the words. You got to want to do. And then you got to do. Okay? So, take a second. What's one thing that drives you absolutely crazy? Can you identify that thing? Write it down somewhere on your card. One thing that, oh, by the way, is that not an awesome graphic? What drives you crazy? I, your beloved 90-year-old speaker, made that on Canva. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm appearing all day. Okay? So, yes, that's a Canva creation by Rick Gilson. There you go. What drives you crazy? Did you write it down? You need a new card? Okay, use a new card. Now, the other thing in BJ's that I absolutely love is what he calls pearl habits. Okay? How are pearls made? Anybody know? What's that? Pressure, but pressure from? Pressure combined with sand. The sand. Anybody ever had sand in the middle of their shorts and the swimming, in the ocean, and you got sand in the middle? Yep. It's irritating. That's what happens. The sand gets in the oyster, it irritates it, and voila, a pearl comes. So, pearl habits are habits you do to deal with things that irritate you. Who here plays basketball? Hands up. Okay, how many of you love getting called for a foul you did not commit? Hands up. Oh, wait, there's no hands up. Right? That whole thing about the referee will be perfect the same day you're perfect, that's true. So now, pearl habit. What irritates you? Being called for a foul that you don't think you committed. All right, why do you need a pearl habit? Because you're wasting time thinking about the foul and the game is on. Do I like missing a putt? No. Pearl habit. I miss the putt. I give myself less than a second to think about it. I got to start thinking about the next shot. So, same rule applies. We just wrote it down, right? After irritating thing happens, I will, positive thing, and then I will celebrate. That's how pearl habits work. So I'm going to tell you right now, you'll be a heck of a lot more interested in being a referee if, after every time a referee does something that irritates you, you have a pearl habit to deal with that and put that aside, because referees are people too. Right? But it's not just in that. By the way, guys, I'll tell you, One of the first things I read about that in the book was a lady who was divorced, whose ex, every single time they exchanged the kids, would say something to dig her, just to stick a knife in the sixth rib, you know? And it was driving her crazy. It was making her bitter. And she built a pearl habit where every single time he said something bad, I will reward myself by, and she had a whole list, pedicure, new shoes, dun 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 dun. Whole bunch of stuff. So he would say something and she would just immediately, oh. And it was kind of weird for him because he was used to making her miserable. But he'd say something bad, her pearl habit would kick in, she would smile. What? It wasn't long before he stopped taking the jabs. They did not get back together. This is not that kind of happy ending. But she was able to function, he was able to function, and from my point of view, the kids were in a safer place. Pearl habits. Same thing at school, same thing with your teammates, all the rest of it. This is gold. Gold mountings of pearls. Now, we're at the end, and you're all, whew, thank heavens, because this guy's been going a long time. I was riding my spin bike in my garage that is actually a man cave with a spin bike and a rowing machine and a putting green and there's no cars in my garage. But I was riding and I was listening to a podcast, Joe Rogan and John Asraf. And they were having a conversation, and in the middle of it, John Asraf said, Joe, you have to remember, babies are the only humans who like change. And I went, what? Like every so often you hear something that's just absolutely true. And this was absolutely true. And I had to stop my spin bike, wind it back, listen to it again. I was like, oh. And so I immediately texted my daughter. This is my youngest grandson. And at the time, that's how old he was. And I said, Sarah, would you take a picture? Some grandpas ask dumb questions. Would you take a picture of Lucas getting his diaper changed? Like not was his diaper off or any of that kind of stuff, but just, would you take a picture? So she sent this back. And I said, as soon as I saw it, Sarah, I didn't ask you to pose him. And she said, I didn't even tell her what it was for, actually. And she said, I didn't. That's what he's like every time he gets his diaper changed. And I just thought, perfect. So it's mine forever with the quote on it. Guys, pearl habits allow us to celebrate our life and be our better selves and be better leaders. Every time I see something on the ground, I'm going to pick it up. That's my pearl habit. It used to irritate me. I said to my staff, I don't want you, when I was principal in Grand Prairie, I said, please don't say, hey, pick that up. You know, cafeteria duty? You know, how many of you like it? Like, if I'm there and I say, hey, pick that up. That's not cool, right? But if I come over and say, hey, would you help me pick this up? Are we good? We're good. So it's pearl habits. And pearl habits tied to leadership. When the leader picks the paper clip up off the carpet, everybody's okay with picking up paper clips. Last little story. I had a friend say, this is not good. Look at this big weed here by the tee box at our golf course. And I'm president of the board right now at McGrath Golf Club. So I do this volunteer thing. Okay. Anyway, he pointed out this weed to me. And it irritated me, and I was like, pearl habit. I took my 9-iron out of my golf bag. It was a big thistle. And I beat the daylights out of that thistle till I could get it out and throw it in the garbage can. And he was like, I didn't tell you that to make you think you should do it. I said, no. It just reminded me. I saw something that irritated me. I have a habit to deal with that. And there you go. Listen. I thank you for listening. I appreciate that a great deal. Every team I'm a part of is Team Awesome. Every team. I had the opportunity to be here today. Therefore, I wore out the battery. I talked so long, I wore out the battery. I have the opportunity to be here with you today, so I consider myself part of the team, which means this is another team awesome. Stay awesome in all that you do. Do not think you only have this high school time to play this sport, and just playing it is the important stuff. Playing's important, but helping others be their better selves, that's what's worth it. Stay awesome. Thank you.